When I was younger, the Model Train Show was a shopping mall-based affair that took place a few times a year, and most reliably at Buckingham Square. However, the closing and demolition of Buckingham spelled the end of that era, and since then, the big event in Denver has been the Rocky Mountain Train Show, held in March at the Denver Merchandise Mart. This show is becoming one of the largest events west of the Mississippi, and in 2019 it got even bigger. The area for the show actually extended into the Mart Plaza area, and I saw an ever larger number of layouts coming in from neighboring states like New Mexico and Kansas. Notable modular pioneers, the Albuquerque Society of HO Model Engineers, were set up in the plaza, and I had to take some notes on a few modules that I'm sure had been in existence since before I got into model railroading. Or at least certain track components on said modules might have been. The joke's on me if they were only built last year, but I found them intriguing nonetheless, as I'm always looking for design inspiration and what can be done in a limited space. Speaking of limited space, I spent a lot of time looking at a pair of ON30 layouts that were superbly detailed, and thanks to the larger scale, featured some machinery animation that might not be practical at smaller scales. There were a few neat little secrets and in-jokes for those willing to take the time to find them, and while I won't give too much away, should you ever see this layout at a show, take note of the manufacturer on the dynamite box. The mineshaft scene on this layout is of note in that it is modeled all the way down to the mine, and there are view slots cut into the sides of the layout to view operations down there, complete with mine locomotives tugging little cars around, although my video camera was unable to shoot in that darkness. On the other end of the scale, the Western Kansas Division N-scale layout was a real treat to see. Not only was the scenery very coherent from section to section, but the trains ran well, looked good, and most amazingly, sounded good. I'm really impressed at how well N-scale is doing as far as quality, and I would probably give it another go if I wasn't so dug in with HO scale already. Another thing I wanted to highlight about this layout was the lack of any transition rails. Based on what I overheard from the builder, the rail ends are soldered to brass anchor points which have then been screwed into the lumber, making them all pretty rock solid as far as alignment. It also helps that it was apparently done all at once. In any case, it works really well, and if this can be done in N-scale, maybe HO module builders should consider doing this more often, if only for multi-section modules. I did something like this with my Atlas metal sections, and the next time I do a complete start over, I'm going to incorporate this kind of engineering. Now, that's just what was in the plaza, not counting vendors and kids' activities. In the main expo section, there were all of the usual suspects, including the Colorado and Great Western, Denver N-Track, Sunrise Division, Colorado Rail Link, and nearsighted narrow gaugers, among others. A particular note here was a European-style layout in N-scale which features an underground train station around the backside. The narrow gauge layout had some of the most attractive scenery on those modules that were completed, and although I neglected to shoot much video this year, I did get a few things from last year's to show. In addition to the layouts, many manufacturers had booths set up and were available to answer questions about their wares. I actually had a few questions answered by Shane Wilson from Scale Trains about why certain things are the way they are in the hobby, and I think the entire hobby would be much better off if we all understood fully what goes into making these products. I spent some time at the Train Tracks booth as well, learning about their RFID system for car inventory and operational tracking, and I would encourage people to check this out if you're into computer and model railroad integration. It's certainly something I found notable as I'm trying to build my layout with computer control in mind, and this may fit well into my operating scheme. Also, Ken Patterson was there, and I had a chance to speak with him and Austin Allard for a little bit as they finished doing the What's Neat podcast along with Michelle Kempema and a cast of thousands. Or about a dozen, I'm not sure. It seemed like everybody was on that stage at one point or another, but I'm looking forward to the video when it hits because we couldn't actually hear the show audio from the stage. Anyway, while I miss the charm of the old mall shows and their access to the food court, this was a nice get-together, and I need to plan for next year because I have some ideas. Thanks for watching.